Hello, everyone, and welcome to Messages from Heaven podcast with me, Medium Bonnie Page. And today I have a special guest, Anita Perry, known as Yoga Anita. And today I'm going to let her tell her own story in her own words of how this podcast came to be. So welcome, Anita, and I'm just going to turn the floor over to you, and I'm just so excited to hear the story myself.
Well, welcome, Bonnie. Bonnie was a guest on my radio show.
Yeah.
That's when I met her in person, but I knew about her because she was very popular up here in Massachusetts. And so I've been kind of following her surreptitiously. I read her books, and her books touched me so much that I've been sending copies of her books to people who I feel need it. And
Oh, that's so
yes, and
unbelievable. Thank you.
because we have to share our gifts, and when I see somebody with a gift like yours, I said, oh, I have to share it. But even though I knew about you, even though I interviewed you and met you in person and got the essence of Bonnie Page, I really didn't apply what you were saying to myself. Okay, I'm so
Mm.
busy going around taking care of other people. I'm a mom. For 30 years, I was an elementary school teacher and a reading specialist. Um, and this is my 47th year in health and fitness. So
Amazing.
always reaching out, taking care of other people, through my volunteer work, also taking care of other people. And so when it came time to take care of myself, the self-care, that kind of gets left to the side, and I have to keep
Mhm.
reminding myself, I'm important too. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, so you started doing your Messages from Heaven weekly readings. And so
Yeah.
I would tune in, with kind of a half an ear because I hate to say this, Bonnie, but I was on my phone and I'd be listening on my phone and be listening. But then a couple of weeks ago, you said something and I just stopped what I was doing, put down my phone and listened to you. And and and
So
I think
something caught your attention
something caught my
that
attention. I don't
spirit
know.
telling you needed to stop a minute and listen.
And listen. And I forget those exact words, but this past week, Monday, you're reading. I was not on my phone, so I put my phone down and I was listening intently, and you were speaking directly to me. You really were, and I'll tell you why. Um, so like I said, this is my 47th year in health and fitness. And when I first started in health and fitness, it was, 47 years ago. So it was aerobics and because aerobics was the thing, right? And I,
Yes.
trained to be a fitness instructor. Yoga was part of it, but when that was part of my training to be certified, I did not like it. In fact, I really didn't like it because being from the aerobic background and going into the yoga background, the instructor was telling us to relax, to breathe, and at the end, she was telling us to, go into Shavasana. And I'm going, and I'm thinking to myself, this is too slow. I don't like this. I don't have time for this. I was thinking about what I was going to eat that night, anything but me. And
Mhm.
so for the first, I would say, 20 years of my fitness career, I was mainly concentrated on, that high intensity cardio workout,
The
um,
movement.
that type of thing, right?
Mhm.
Well, then what happened is one day I was out walking the dog, my first dog, and my knee started hurting.
Oh.
And he said, okay, well then, I'll just power through it, like Jane Fonda said, feel the burn, right? And so, but I kept getting repetitive stress injuries. even though I was allowing myself time to rest in the middle, I kept getting injuries, and I'm thinking, something, my body's telling me something. I wasn't listening, but my body was telling me something. Well, long story short, I found yoga again, and this time I was ready. Not only was I ready for the physical part, but also the mental part, because being a teacher is very high stress.
It is.
Stress.
It's a lot of
Oh
responsibility.
my gosh. And each year it gets more and more stressful. The last few years of my career were very stressful to me. Um, I kept getting laid off from my job, believe it or not, and then rehire, and then when you get rehired, sometimes you're not rehired at the best rate of pay, and I had to leave one position and go to another, and it was just knowing that my retirement was coming up, really, really stressful. And as a matter of fact, at the end of my teaching career, I did not get full teacher retirement benefits because of that break in service. And so,
Sad.
yeah. And so I retired in June. Well, I left in June my teaching career because I could not do it anymore mentally. I loved teaching and I loved working with the kids, but dealing with the other stuff that comes along with it, I just couldn't do it anymore. I wasn't sleeping at night. It wasn't eating well, and all that. So anyway, that set up this whole chain of events about, well, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? I'm too young to sit at home. You know, I've always worked 2 or 3 jobs at a time. I've, taken care of other people. What am I going to do? And so it was a really hard transition. I don't know other people's experiences when they retire from a full-time, Monday through Friday job, what they go through, but I found it really hard.
I'm sure it throws everyone for a loop because change is hard.
Yeah. And I didn't want to do it.
Right.
So I was resistant to it. So I've taken all this time to kind of figure out, well, what do I want to do next? And I knew that I wanted to keep concentrating on the yoga, meditation, the healing, because that brings me a lot of joy and it brings other people a lot of joy when I see them transform physically, mentally, when they come to me and say, whatever you did today really helped me. So I wanted to stay with that. But on the other hand, and my original plan was always to open a brick and mortar. Well, the last few years in the yoga industry has been very, very hard, and my heart goes out to all these people out there who started a yoga studio because they're not surviving. They're getting swallowed up by gyms are taking over that component. Um, the people, your students aren't showing up on a consistent basis. To attract and retain students is very, very difficult. And I've seen even some personal friends who've had to close their studio and do other things. So that is was very heartbreaking too. So I knew I didn't want to put in the time and expense, and really it's the expense now because I'm on a fixed income
It's
to
expensive to open a brick and mortar place, and the time and the energy that it goes into, um, being open all the time
Mhm.
and putting it really does take most of your energy,
It
especially
does.
when you're, starting out in a new place.
Right, exactly. And and I've had to start out over and over and over again in all these different places working for other people. Um, so I took one of your readings, what you said, and I just went out there, went for it, and now I do have a consistent teaching base where I teach to faculty, staff, and students at Fitchburg State University.
Nice.
So that's wonderful to me. But I know I could still do more. And
Anita, can
so,
you share just a little bit of some of the guidance that you were hearing from your reading that kind of resonated with you to, push forward?
well, I will tell you, I'm getting to that point because I will
Oh,
tell you
okay.
exactly what on Monday. So I've been going back and forth, what should I do? I need to redo my website. I need to learn new software. I need to, should I integrate this plugin into my website or that plugin to my website or change programs or, and all these things were bubbling up. But while I was thinking about that, I was also thinking about, do I really want to put in all this time, this energy, because I'm now reaching a certain age? And on Monday, you said, you said, I was sitting there listening, and you said, you might think you're out of the game, but you're not out of the game. Those weren't your exact words, but
Getting goosebumps.
I
So,
just sat up right when you said that, and you said, Bonnie, you're talking to me. And you said something like, your angels, the spirit wants you to go for it, to go for your dreams, to go for it. And I'm like, Bonnie, you're talking to me. And it's like you were reaching out through the screen, talking just to me. And I just got that inspiration,
and
that
I'm
feeling.
getting goosebumps all over me right now as you're saying that. So when I get goosebumps, spirit's like, yes, yes, tell her yes. So,
Yes, and then the numbers, the angel numbers kept popping up for me too. I kept seeing 111, I kept seeing 555, I kept seeing 333. All these things were telling me, just leave that behind and just go for it and get the information you need to do what you want to do. So I had this idea percolating in my head about starting something new within the yoga thing. And so this week I started to take steps to get that in place.
okay. And as I am listening to you, I am hearing from spirit a little as well. They're always talking in my ear. And they wanted you to know that you came into this lifetime as a true healer. So whether that was working with children or teaching or yoga, it's all healing work. You have within your soul um, that ability to be that true healer for people. So I don't know if you felt that all these years doing your work, but your sole purpose, one of them is because in many lifetimes you are and have been a healer. So they're telling me to let you know you are a true healer. So not only touching people, physically, mentally, emotionally, but in every way and that's why you made children and adults feel good about themselves having that communication with you.
Well, thank you, because sometimes you don't get that feedback, you know.
I know. So the only thing that didn't resonate with you so much, which happens is as we're a born healer,
Mhm.
sometimes we don't like the other stuff, the paperwork that goes along with being the teacher or the politics. They're telling me the
It was the
politics
politics, the
didn't
politics.
resonate with you because your
Yeah,
soul's not here to be into politics. It was here to offer healing to people.
right.
So they're just telling me to tell you you have a healing hand. So um, I just want you to know that. So just know that you could even be a Reiki practitioner with the yoga as well, if you chose to. But we all have healing hands, but you have come into this life with that purpose of wanting to heal.
And also I love to elevate other people who are healers. Like having people on my radio show is such a work of love. I don't get paid for it. It's all volunteer, but I put so much effort and love into getting the right people to come and to talk about their healing and their practices. And their services and what they do, and that brings me a lot of joy too. That kind of gets that
So you're
being
elevating,
part.
the consciousness of people around different modalities of healing.
Right, right.
So that's giving back too. That's serving spirit. And that makes you happy. I can see that smile in your eyes are glowing. Like, I just love doing that work.
Right.
And spirit's just telling me to tell you you're good at it. So that's
Oh,
why
thank you.
you're not, your journey's not done with it. Your journey's not done. In fact, they just said to me, tell her it's just beginning. So there's a new way to work for you, but it's just beginning. They're kind of going like this around my heart chakra and saying there's just going to be new feelings there for you, and which will give you new ideas as well. But just stay on your path of knowing what feels good, using your intuition like you
Yeah.
do. You're very intuitive. Keep using your own gut feeling, your own intuition as you push forward. And someone's up there telling me to tell you not to take no for an answer. So if somebody, I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that's what they just said to me. Don't take no for an answer.
That's either my grandmother, Grandma Reno, or my father. My father always wanted me to be a sports broadcaster. He always wanted me to be a sports broadcaster. And when I was a little girl, he used to take me to Red Sox games, and he taught me how to score using the score pad, the symbols and
Mhm.
everything. I loved that. I loved that. It was a special time I spent with my dad because he worked nights, so he didn't have a lot of free time.
He's just kind of whispering in my ear that he got his way. You're on the microphone talking to people. It doesn't matter if it wasn't with sports or whatever. He kind of got his way because you are out there. You have your radio show, you have your YouTube, you're out there, you're actually doing what your dad wanted you to do.
That's true. I didn't think about
He
it.
just
So
said to
thanks,
me, I
Dad.
just wanted you to be able to use your voice. I
Thanks, Dad.
just wanted her to be able to use her voice. And while I connect with your dad a little, he's given me goosebumps here, so he's coming close. He does want to say how proud he is of you because he's telling me that you've always held your ground to the point of maybe even you could look like you were a little indifferent sometimes. No, I'm doing it this way. So, but that's what you were meant to do. You're meant to hold your ground. So if there was ever a time in your life, Anita, where you thought, oh, maybe I shouldn't have held my ground, no, you should have. So your dad's telling me that he taught you all your morals as well, and you've done a great job, holding your own and being your own person. And he doesn't want to skip that. He wants to tell you that he loves you, and he wishes he would have told you that every day. And he just tells me, I wish I would have done more of that, Bonnie. He gives you a hug. He puts his arms around your shoulders, and he goes, I always just thought she knew I loved her or that I was proud of her, but I just wish I would have spoken the words a little bit more.
Well, he had a lot of kids. I'm one of 6 kids.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Your dad loved being a family man,
he
he's
sure did.
and he's cute. He says, and there was somebody always to talk to, Bonnie. Like somebody was always home or someone there. There was someone to talk to.
Mhm.
Did you offer him care at the end of his years, Anita?
I
Because
did.
he's just
I
saying,
did.
can you tell her thank you for that care? She's the caregiver as well. And you're always a very sensitive girl since you were little, he's telling me. There was always a special component of you just being so sensitive and kind of knowing what other people needed.
Mhm.
And he's just saying, she always knew what to say to me, Bonnie. She always knew how to make me feel better, even in his older years here, he's saying. So he's so happy about that. And just wanted to pass on that little message to you as well.
Well, I'm happy that he's happy because I think about him every night.
So in your bedroom, Anita, is there a window like with a tree and the birds come?
Yes.
Because I don't know if you've been seeing the cardinal or the other birds, but he's like, oh, I send her signs that way.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I'll
So
have to
he
be more
loves that.
attentive.
He's like, I'm in the stars and the moon. He's being very poetic. I love your dad when I'm connecting with him because he has a really soft heart, if you can understand that.
Yes,
And
he
he's like,
does.
I'm in the stars and the moon. And the other way he's going, and I try to get lyrics to her, Bonnie. So if you're listening to a song and it's an older song,
Hmm.
listen to the lyrics because your dad's trying to get through to you that way, Anita.
All right. Well, I will definitely do that. And the way you just said that, my dad was a singer. He was a
Oh,
musician. He
oh
was a
my
musician in the
goodness.
army.
That's so
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
Your
And well,
dad wants me to say one other thing, and I don't know where this fits, but I want to honor him. He's telling me that we're all the same in life. But he's saying this old saying that my dad used to say to me, we all pull our pants on the same way, like the left leg. Does that make sense to you? Like we
yes.
pull our
Yeah. Yeah.
pants
Yeah.
on the same way. So I
Yeah.
don't know why he wants to get that to you, but he does. I'm hearing it very clearly. And so he's kind of laughing, but he wants you to know, right? Everybody's the same in life.
Mhm.
Everybody's the same. So good. Thanks, Dad. Your dad's so polite. He just said, thank you, Bonnie. Sound like your dad? Education meant a lot to your dad. He's just like, I wanted everybody to have their education.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Towards the end of his life, he couldn't see very well. And so, and he also had to wear hearing aids too. So that was very isolating. And then it was also during the time of COVID. So, what I did for him is I got him books on tape so that he was able to listen to different things. And then when I went over to care for him, do his cleaning, his grocery shopping, we had things to talk about. He'd tell me, "Oh, I just listened to the story about Lucille Ball, or I just listened to the story about so and so, and did you know that this happened? Did you know that that happened?" I mean, it just opened up this whole world for him where he felt so isolated before. And of course, as a reading specialist, that was near and dear to my heart too. But it just to see the change that came
And
over
think
him.
about his message without me knowing none of that story, but him saying, thank you for the caregiving. And you had the sensitivity to know what he needed.
Mhm.
So perfect. I'm so happy, that we got to have that little connection with your
Well,
dad.
thank you, Bonnie. Thank you for being the conduit for that.
Anytime. I love talking to everybody in heaven. I really do, and everyone in heaven sees the big picture, right? Like your
Yeah.
dad didn't come through showing me, glasses or hearing aids or anything. He comes through as a very he just said as a very handsome man, nice big shoulders
See what you
and
could
dark
say.
hair.
That's what you say.
And he said, and I got it going on. He said, you're older. Well, it's a different story. But he said, I held my own most of my life. So
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you
yeah,
did.
he's giving me kind of a John Wayne feel here. So yeah,
Yeah, everyone loved him. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Very sweet, very sweet. So I leave you with the blessings of your dad, Anita.
Thank you, Bonnie.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dad. So,
Did he
besides,
have a nickname for you or call you Sweet Pea or something like that?
he called me lots of things.
Okay, because he's just giving me like a little nickname for you, so it's cute. Did he have a little name for each of you?
Well, come to think of it, sometimes he got us mixed up because
Oh,
because my name's Anita, and then there was four boys, and then there was Elisa, is my sister. So sometimes he'd call me Elisa, and he'd call Elisa Anita.
okay. Because he was trying to say something. It wasn't Anita, so it sounded like a nickname or something. And he's like,
Yes,
well, all of them, all of them. So there
right.
you go.
Then he'd go off and say something in Italian because he'd get upset with himself for mixing us up.
Oh,
You know, but, yeah, and he'd mix up the boys a little bit too,
so
except for
he just
Gina.
wants you to know he's laughing about it now because
Yeah,
now looking at the big picture, you know what? He knows your souls. He knows
yeah.
your souls. So okay.
Right.
Good. So Anita, I'm so happy for you. What are you going to be doing next? And I'm glad that you watched my guidance that I give everyone once a week. So if anybody's wondering what's that, well, I usually send it out on my newsletter, which you can sign up on bonniepagemedium.com, or I put it
Mhm.
on my Facebook pages, Medium Bonnie page. So everybody can have a little guidance every week for their week.
Yes,
And they're really meant for the collective, but you wouldn't believe how many people are like, that was for me, that was for me. Because really,
exactly.
even drawing cards, I'm listening to the spirit world.
Right,
And then the extra things that they give me, I channel and I give to everyone else. They know who's watching, they know who needs to hear what. So,
right.
if anybody wants to hear that guidance once a week, that's how they can either join my page or go on my website and get on my MailChimp. But I'm happy to do that. And I just started doing that a few weeks ago. So that's been making me really happy too, Anita.
Yeah, yeah. So I look forward to it every week now.
Oh, I'm so happy. And so, do you have some new plans, or how can people get in touch with you now?
Well, my website is yogaanita.com. On there, they'll find links to my radio show. They'll find links to my books. They'll find links to what else I got on there? Classes. Um, Also, um, I'm doing a lot more work with going into assisted living facilities. I'm helping with over 55 communities, doing some private lessons as well as a few group lessons and a few events. So all that information I usually put on my website so that people can know. And then I'm also on social media, Facebook at Yoga Anita and Instagram and all those other ones too.
It's yogaanita.com plus on your socials. And as you were talking, Anita, have you taught chair yoga in some of the facilities? Because that's what they were showing me.
Yes,
Oh,
chair
good.
yoga.
See,
Yes,
they know because I just really feel like part of your purpose now is helping, the 55 and over community as well, because sometimes they're overlooked. As
exactly.
you know, sometimes we are overlooked. I am 65 myself, so
I'm
sometimes
going to be
we are,
70 in July.
and you cannot tell. You cannot tell. So it's all
Thank you.
that wonderful healing work that you do. And I want all the listeners to take that part away from the podcast today, that when you are doing healing work, and it doesn't really matter what form of healing work you're doing, like Anita, you were a teacher to children. That's healing work. Being a server in a restaurant and loving what you do and putting smiles on people's faces, that's healing work.
I used to do that, Bonnie. Anita's Donut Shop
Oh, that's so amazing.
since I was 7 years old, and that's what my
Oh,
father taught me how to
look
do
at
it.
that. Look at that, how that came through. And so I want everyone to know when you're doing something out of love and it's being a blessing to someone else, you are being the healer. You are being the healer. So um, I did nails, acrylic nails for a few years.
Mhm.
And I often talk to God here. So I sent a question up to God because I started mediumship later in life. And it's usually when you're ready. I was born a medium, but I didn't start giving readings or doing events till a little
Mhm.
bit later in my life. And I said to God, God, you let me do nails for a long time. And he said to me, I was teaching you to counsel
Ah,
and
yes.
holding women's hands, every 2 weeks to get their acrylics done. I had a little sign next to me, Anita, that said, be a blessing. And
Mhm.
every person that came in, I don't even think I was that great at doing nails, but I was always busy and none of my clients ever left me. I think they couldn't wait to come in the door and sit down and just unload everything that had happened 2 weeks
Right, right,
before. And
right,
so look how God works, right? I was
right.
teaching you to counsel.
That's beautiful, Bonnie.
So nothing that we do in our lives, nothing to the littlest thing, helping somebody across the street, it's nothing is wasted. It's meant to be. It really is.
That's
So
beautiful.
everybody up there looking down and watching us, right, with a lot of pride. Your dad's saying, I always watch with a lot of pride, Bonnie. And so I just,
Fantastic. That keeps you going. That keeps me
it
going.
keeps you going. And remember, it doesn't matter how little or big the project is, if it's helping someone. I say you're doing God's work, and I say you're doing healing.
Well, thank you, Bonnie, and so aren't you.
I just love talking to you today, Anita, and I'll get this up on the podcast YouTube under Medium Bonnie page, and I'll
Fantastic.
spread it around so everyone can listen and hear. And it was such a pleasure seeing you and hearing you today, Anita. And I wish you the best. I really do. I already think you're doing amazing work, to tell you the truth. Just beautiful work. So
Thank you.
like Spirit says, just continue because there's so many people that need healing work these days.
That's true. That's true. Thank you so much, Bonnie, for having me
You're
on
welcome.
today.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Until next time, and I'll see you next week. Thank you, Anita.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.